Not many crooks like Lee Murray lived an exciting life on the edge, suspended between fame and infamy. Instead of just disappearing into the darkness, he became a local legend and notorious crime figure in British crime history by growing up on the chaotic pathways of the tough South London roads. His trajectory from mixed martial arts fighter to mastermind behind the greatest heist in history is almost cinematic. It has all the makings of a tale filled with ambition, violence, and an insatiable thirst for more. Lee was considered an intimidating figure in the cage as well as outside of it during the early 2000s. At 6'3", Murray was lean and muscular, a force to be reckoned with in the world of mixed martial arts, MMA. He became something of a local hero in 2004 after allegedly knocking UFC legend Tito Ortiz down with one punch in a nightclub brawl. However, it was not the recognition of a fighter that Murray was after. He was after riches that could change his life. To someone like Murray, there was no greater siren than the thrill of a mega plunder. The exhilaration of thievery and the allure of millions in cash sucked Murray in much deeper than cheering crowds would to most ordinary folks. For this Securitas depot, located in Tonbridge, Kent, he targeted a massive score. So he needed a team of professionals who were not going to fold their arms over the prospect of violence. Murray was a longtime figure in South London's underworld, notorious for his tough nature and feared for losing his temper. He began piecing his crew together. There was childhood friend Paul Allen, key to planning the brawn. Then there was Jetmir Bukpapa, a muscular Albanian bully. Murray was a big-visioned man. He didn't want to rob a bank, but carry out one of the jobs that people would talk about. The Securitas Depot represented the Holy Grail, millions in cash and state-of-the-art security systems all in one place. But while others saw only barriers, Murray saw shortcomings. He spent weeks planning the heist, analyzing routine patterns among employees, as well as the security protocols in search of opportunities. The heist went down like a movie scene on February 21, 2006. Murray and his team were well prepared, even donning police uniforms to enter the depot. Every aspect had been perfected, and their members knew their roles to the full. The whole plan needed military accuracy, and they were willing to take the gamble for the prospect of infinite wealth. Night was closing in, and the crew were now brimming with anticipation as they knew they were going to make history. After months of preparation, the cold, dark night was going to become infamous as the culmination of their audacious plan. All things were set up to go into action at last. The Securitas brazen heist began with a stroke of pure psychological genius, a bold kidnapping of Colin Dixon, the depot manager, along with his family. For Lee Murray and his gang, it was more than just a crime. It was a strategy that would break the will of Colin Dixon as far as ensuring his cooperation in the operation. Who knows, but Dixon wouldn't have ever dreamed that every move he was making was tracked minute to minute. And then, out of nowhere, bright lights from a police car flash in his rearview mirror. He assumes it is the police pulling him over, pulls over his car, but little does he know it was really Murray's crew, dressed up in pretty well-made counterfeit police uniforms. Before he knew what was going on, he was handcuffed and dragged into a van. And then the crew went to Dixon's house, where they found his wife and little son. He was under gunpoint. Terror seemed to be written all over Dixon's face. His loved ones were at his mercy and his compliance. While being bound and blindfolded, his fear turned cold. It was not that these men did not know what they were doing. They had made all their arrangements carefully. Having Dixon in tow, the crew set off for the Securitas depot. The best part of the heist was going to happen, for it's on such points that any heist can really take a turn for disaster. It was here that Murray's perfect plan, hence his perfect crew, kicked in. On arrival at the depot, Dixon was advised to go on as normal and that his family depended on him making it home. The men maintained the charade as they entered the facility, looking calm and authoritative. Dazed and out of it, Dixon could hardly argue as they were escorted through the security doors and into the inner sanctum of the depot. Inside, they worked efficiently, overpowering the workers and holding them up by plastic tie. Frightened and perplexed, The workers could only watch on in horror as the gang put the plan into action with the military's precision and efficiency. Every one of them communicated with hand signals and made little noise, promising speedy execution. Within no time at all, they had cordoned off all the exit points and deactivated the security systems. In the vaults of the depot, they finally saw the scope of their target. Crates piled to high ceiling with cash, tens of millions of pounds to be collected. Even for hardened criminals, they were stunned by the scale of what lay before them for a fleeting moment. They could not think about it because they had prepared and practiced for this particular day. Now is the time to put plans into action. They set to work loading the money into waiting cars with a precision that was almost swift. Every movement was choreographed and every second counted. Under the pressure of real-time execution, they showed a ruthlessness belied by their initial awe. Crate after crate of cash was wheeled out of the vault and into their cars. The staggering logistics of moving such an immense sum appeared almost effortless. But when they had finished, $53 million was crammed into their getaway cars, a fortune that was forever to alter lives and realize the wildest of aspirations. Yet the work was far from over. Having secured the cash, it was now time to make their break. They bound and gagged the employees of the depot but released them unharmed to most amazed witnesses as the crew showed its discipline and Murray's leadership. The escape was a class in evading. In fact, they changed cars at designated locations around town, planning all their movements in order to avoid observation. By the time everyone realized it was a robbery, those robbers had melted into the night. Miraculously, the job was over in more than an hour. But one of the most brazen and successful robberies in British history would haunt Murray and his men. The immediate aftermath was surreal for Murray and his crew. They'd done the impossible and were walking out of the bank with unthinkable riches. Reality, however, intervened in the guise of new status. They were now Britain's most wanted men. Murray had anticipated that. The staff dispersed, each with a well-planned scheme of tactics to be not detected. They all changed their appearance, used fake identities, and kept a low profile. However, it was too massive an operation to remain unheard of forever. The first cracks in the plan began to appear when police found one of the gang's vehicles. It was abandoned and partly burnt. It held crucial forensic evidence that drew investigators closer to the crew. Finally, surveillance footage and witness reports started piecing together gang movements enough for authorities to close their grip. The pressure mounted as the investigation progressed. Paranoia began to creep in, leading to careless mistakes. Trying to make accusative phone calls, making flashy expenditures, and nervous habits that would bring unwanted attention. Crew members one after another began to get apprehended and ended their luxurious lives cut short by relentless law enforcement. Yet Lee Murray continued to evade the lawmen. With the manhunt hotting up, he fled to Morocco, the only country that did not have an extradition treaty with the UK. It was this bold move that initially seemed promising, but it was his love for the high life that proved to be his downfall. He could not resist blowing his dough, which brought him to the attention of the Moroccan authorities. He was finally caught in June 2006 in Rabat, months after he had managed to evade capture. The climax of a global manhunt that had captured the public imagination, his imprisonment now marked Lee Murray as once one of the best celebrated fighters and masterminds of the British history's largest heist. While Murray fought extradition in the UK, other members of his crew were brought to justice. The heist that had seemed so flawlessly accomplished began to unravel with long sentences being given to each member caught. Yet the mystery of the missing millions remained. Much of the cash was never recovered. Sitting in a Moroccan prison cell, Murray's reputation spread and cemented him in world criminal history. He had achieved the impossible, but for a moment, pulling off one of the most brazen robberies ever committed, and to many, that made him legend.